Now I have a glass of water. I'm not going to throw this on you at all. I'm going to put it here, and the reason I have a glass of water is because I have a cold. And we all know what you do when you have a cold. You buy some cold and flu tablets, you eat some chicken noodle soup, and you have a cup of tea with lemon and honey in it. So we all know that. We all know that that's what we do when we have a cold. Christmas last year, I discovered a lump in my breast. I immediately went to the doctor immediately got me in to see a specialist. I had a mammogram and I had an ultrasound. And I got a text message and an email to let me know that it was okay. So when something like that happens, we all know exactly what we should be doing. When something happens to our brain or our mind, when we start to feel anxious, when we start to feel sad, down, miserable, when we get angry, when our body image doesn't quite hook up to what we think it should be, we don't immediately know what to do, or where to get support, or how to get that help, or when we should actually get that help. And in fact, the research shows us that the more ill you become, the less likely it is that you're actually going to get support. So when you think about the most valuable asset that we have, which is our mind and our brain, our curiosity, the things that make us tick, the things that make us the people that we are, the people who can love and who can be curious. When it comes to our mind and our brain, we still have not nailed the science that will allow people to manage their well-being and get the right care at the right time when they need it. And so my talk today is about how I think technologies in the 21st century may actually be able to provide a solution to some of the challenges of well-being, health-seeking, and highest quality clinical care. But first of all, a little about me. I'm mum. I've also dedicated 20 years of my life to suicide prevention, but most importantly, I am mum to 3 beautiful little children, and every mum loves their child, and I'm not going to bore you with a million stories of children. But what I do want to tell you is, Harry is now 5, 6, Holly is now 7, and Angus is 9. And when they were little, I used to say to Harry, Harry, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Harry would say, Mummy, I want to be a clown. And I'd say, adopt the clown? No, Mummy, just a clown. Okay, what about a lawyer clown? No, Mummy, just a clown. Not a magician, but a clown. And then I'd say to Holly, Holly, darling, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, Mummy, I just want to be a fairy. Oh my God. Adopt a fairy? No, Mummy, just a fairy. Clearly they take after their father. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing. Let me kid you not, because he has the genetics that mean that he is a very sunshiny, happy person. He can pick himself up from adversity, dust himself off, and get on with life. Now, unfortunately, that is not true for all of us. And some of the challenges in understanding mental illness is that it's complex. It's a complex mix between your brain, your environment, your genetics, what's happening in your family life, what's happening at school, at work, all of the stresses that might come from living in the world in which we live. So there is a huge dearth of knowledge about what actually might cause depression, anxiety, drug, alcohol, eating disorders, psychosis. There's also a lack of understanding because, as people often say, well, why can't you just pick yourself up and get on with it? It's all in your mind. And I go, yeah, it is all in your mind. It's a part of your brain understanding and making sense of the complexities of life. Then there is Angus, my 9-year-old. And Angus was born with Down syndrome, diagnosed with autism, and is non-verbal. He uses an iPad to communicate. And so I think for the first time in history, we will have an opportunity to use technologies to ensure that those who are most vulnerable, people living with a disability, people who are non-verbal, people who are so disabled that they cannot leave their homes due to their anxiety or their depression, we can use these technologies to connect and to reach out. I was asked a little while ago to go and chat to the Monash University leadership, and they said, well, explain to us, what steps have you walked in? How have you got to where you are? And I said, well, I can tell you this. My favourite cartoonist is Lunig, and one of the things that you can never control is the messiness and the complexity of life. It is messy, it is complex, it is what makes us human beings. Otherwise, we would all be robots walking down the street, not doing anything particularly interesting. Life is messy. We have personalities. We love, we're scared. We do all those things that make us the people that we are. They also asked me, and this is quite common if you follow social media, the question, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? And what I would tell myself? do not get a perm. Do not tweet this out and do not share this on social media. Oh my God, we're a TED Talk. Oh my God, it's going out widely. That is a perm from the 80s. And I know I can see all of you there sitting, wishing you had that hair. I can see you all running out to your hairdressers now saying, give me a perm, I want the perm. So anyway, that's enough about me. When I started in suicide prevention back plus 20 years ago, my first job as a young person just out of university was to create a study that looked at the cost of suicide. There are a number of things wrong with this. I wasn't an economist. You cannot put a price on a number on the life lost to suicide, and you can never underestimate the burden that it has on families, on friends, on the community, on society. And back then, and it's terrible to say, but Australia, along with New Zealand, had the highest youth suicide rate in the world. And we have to ask ourselves as a society, what is going on that our young people feel that their life is not worth living? What is it that we've got wrong when we think of ourselves as the lucky country? And our Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, talks about the importance of your brain, the thing in your head, the thing that is the greatest mental capital for Australia, the most valuable asset, more valuable than mining, more valuable than farming, the most important asset. So what is it that we could do differently to ensure that we don't continue to see this situation? Despite 20 years of work, it is still the leading cause of death for young people aged 15 to 24. So despite all of the stigma campaigns, we have not shifted that statistic. In an average Year 12 classroom, one young person will have attempted suicide. It is a national tragedy, and Lifeline call it a crisis, and it is. 1 in 4 young people will experience a mental health disorder. That is this group in the room. It is a lot of people, and it not only affects how you interact, it affects your quality of your relationships, how well you do at school, how well you do at work, how you actually manage and work through your life. And despite all of our campaigns and all of our awareness raising and the fabulous work done by the beyondblues of the world and my members, 75% of young people, 75% will not seek help. Think back to my original conversation. I know what to do when I've got a cold. I know what to do when I've got a lump in my breast. Young people do not know where to get support and help and care when they are going through a difficult, tough time. And this is not just feeling sad and miserable and down. This is impacting on the quality of your life, your capacity to engage in school, in university, in work, in the community. So that's the current situation. So 5 years ago I thought to myself, well, what do we do about this? What we're doing is not working, the research we're doing is great, but it's not actually impacting and changing policy. Can we set up an organisation that puts young people, one of them is sitting here in front of me, at the centre of the research, the development, the practice and the policy? And can we get young people involved in shaping that research so that that research immediately has implications for the practice of organisations like Lifeline, like Headspace? And so we set up a Brains Trust of 80 amazing young people, entrepreneurs, people with a lived experience, ranging in age from 12 to 25. Every single one of them has an amazing story to tell. Some have gone off to the UN, to WHO. They are simply stunning entrepreneurial young people. And we sat them alongside our scientists. People like Professor Ian Hickey, Professor Pat McGorry, Professor Helen Christensen. Brilliant researchers, scientists, but our single most valuable asset were our young people and what they were telling us. We set them up as partners in research and practice and policy, and we worked through an agile methodology, which is anyone who's in technology will know this method. If you design with the people in mind, and you involve the people so that they actually shape the practice, and you actually get a product that people want to use. It's not rocket science. but we brought it into the work that we did. And what we've developed, I think, is what is quite simply stunning. And the Australian government have continued to invest in it. It's called synergy. So as I've mentioned, the current state is very confusing. When you ask people what is available for them, some will be able to name beyondblue. But if you have an eating disorder, you don't want to end up at beyondblue. You want to end up at Butterfly Foundation. Some people can name Headspace. But there are a whole host of resources. The intent and purpose of synergy was to bring them into a system that was seamless. So the person, no matter where they landed, got the right care at the right time. It didn't matter if you came in, and the idea being there is no wrong door. You don't have to go to beyondblue, you don't have to go to Lifeline. You could be at school, you could be at work, you could be at university. No wrong door. So the idea being that you could access it wherever you wanted, on your iPad, on your iPhone. There's no stigma attached to a device. You could access it from your bedroom if you wanted to. You could get the support you needed when you wanted it and in the way that suited you. But we also wanted to make sure that we didn't set it up to say, actually no, professionals aren't important. They are just as important. But what we want to do is make sure that people think about how they can self-manage their wellness, manage their stress, manage the things that are challenging. But if they do need care, support and help, get into that care immediately and do it in a way that the technologies facilitate. It's a back-end solution. No one sees it's happening. Who uses an app? I'd be surprised. Who doesn't use an app? The idea being that we all use technologies. We have iPhones, we have iPads, we're on computers. With the right balance, we believe that we can use these technologies for good, not evil. Came up with the concept Happiness Central, or young people came up with the concept. How do you bring all of the apps together into one system so that data flows between those systems? And that if you use an app that is about sleeping, you can actually monitor your sleeping and understand what's making you not sleep. You start with a wellness survey, so it tailors it to your needs. It gives you a wellbeing plan. It then recommends apps to you, and then the data starts to flow. So behind the scenes, Synergy is doing this for you. The data's encrypted, it's safely stored, so you know that your data is safe. It's based on wellbeing, it's based on managing stresses. It's about linking the system, and it's about bringing the very best of breed to the fore. Entrepreneurs, James Tutton and Janie Martino. James is not a mental health professional. He created Moonlight Cinema, but he suddenly went, I know, there's Smiling Mind, there's a way in which I can take mindfulness out to the masses. It's a simple app that helps you manage stress. Music Escape. Who in this room does not like music? Who did not love the band before? Music Escape simply takes your playlist, looks at the cadence of it, gives it a rating of mood from angry, Rage Against the Machine, to happy, Walking on Sunshine, and it allows you, the person, to create a playlist based on I'm feeling bored, to I want to feel excited, or I'm feeling sad, to I want to feel happy. There's no stigma attached to this, and the data flows backwards and forwards between the systems so that you can start to measure what is going on for you. Hello Sunday Morning. Who's heard of this? Few people. It is a social movement created by a young social entrepreneur, Chris Rain. Chris basically said, we have a culture in Australia which is about drinking. Is there a way that I can build a community, not to tell people stop drinking, but rather to say, imagine if you woke up on Sunday morning, you actually got active and went out and did something different. Sign up and be a part of the community, take a break from alcohol, and within months he had thousands of people as a part of the community. It's about retraining your thinking about what keeps you well. Kick It, brand new one. Young, entrepreneur, based out of Adelaide. He's looking at how he can link his app with Nickelback and bring it into the Synergy system so that people can start to understand how it all interrelates and links. Sleep well, be well. Who gets enough sleep? A few people. Well done to you, because I certainly don't. So Recharge was created by the guys at Brain and Mind Centre with Reach Out. And basically it said, how do you get young men engaged? Sleep and activity were the two things young men said to us was actually going to make a difference. So the Recharge app, co-created, co-designed, Basically it's gamified. There's a little snippet in it which to set off the alarm or to stop the alarm you actually have to get up and do star jumps. Really simple. One of my researchers was on a plane, international flight, forgot to turn it off, or actually I don't think you can turn it off, went off. She had to do her star jumps to get the thing turned off. Anyway, the whole point of the story is there are literally hundreds of apps out there for wellbeing. Hundreds of them that you can start to use to help you manage those stressful events, those relationship breakups, the things that actually put you under pressure and put you at risk for mental health. Biometrics. The world is exploding with biometrics. We can now, through the APIs of Synergy, pull in this data so that you can start to use it to inform and track your mood. So that's the first section, and I'm almost finished. The second bit is, what if it's not all rosy and your stress does become out of control, and you're not sleeping, and you are drinking too much? Is there a way that the system can pick up early that you're not travelling well, can flag it with you as the person in control? Actually, it looks like you're not doing too well. Perhaps you need to go and speak to someone. Would you like to go and speak to someone? And the person can choose, because people are not always ready to seek support and care. And if they choose, they can choose to go on and do a much more clinically orientated survey, which picks up where they're at in the stage of what might be the beginning of a mental illness. But it might not be. And so what we want to do is determine, can we support and treat online? And if we can, keep people self-managing, because that's about being empowered and being in control. But if you are unwell and you do require support, can we actually use then the technologies with a professional to ensure that you're still in control, but you're marrying up your data, your information with the professional, so that when you go in and you speak to them, they can look at it and immediately say, it looks like this is going on. Let's get you started on thinking about mindfulness, or some music therapy, or some walking and activity, because we know that that's going to be good for your mental health. If those things don't work, in real time we can measure that, and we can change the treatment options. Cognitive behavioural therapy, someone was talking to me about it before. It doesn't work for everyone, and yet we continue to pursue it and persist with it. In this world, in this new world of Synergy where you are in control, the person, you own your own data, we'll be able to measure whether the therapies are working, whether the medications are working, and we'll be able to tailor treatments to suit you. Thank you.